My sister said she had 6 months left. I gave her everything. My money. My time. Even my future. Then I found the second phone. I didn't confront her. I just made a call. The next day my mom asked why the news van was outside our house. The cake said, "Our Warrior Queen" in gold lettering. It was 3 tiers. With glitter. And a fondant version of Ashley on top, sitting in a hospital bed with a tiara. So, subtle. My cousin snapped a picture of it like it was a wedding cake. People were whispering things like, "She's such an inspiration," and "I don't know how she stays so strong." And Ashley? She was glowing. Absolutely radiant in pale pink and soft curls, blinking back tears like someone had just told her she only had hours left instead of months. Meanwhile, I was standing by the fridge wondering if anyone else remembered she told us 6 months ago that she only had 6 months. But no. Everyone was too busy being inspired. Aunt Julia clutched Ashley's hand and said something about angels. My mom brought out a tray of sugar-free brownies because Ash can't handle sugar anymore. Which is weird because last night I caught her eating a Kit Kat in bed. Ashley saw me watching and winked. I smiled back. Tight. She walked over not long after, holding a mug like it weighed 50 pounds. "I'm so glad you came," she said gently, like I was some old friend she didn't expect to show up. "I live here," I reminded her. "Still," she said, touching my arm. "It means a lot." Thought she was good. She'd always been good. Back in middle school, she won an acting award for a 10-minute monologue about a dying kitten. Everyone sobbed. Including the judge. The kitten wasn't real, obviously, but neither was her limp that day. She liked to commit to the role. I remember thinking it was kind of impressive back then. No, not so much. Ashley drifted back to the center of the room where everyone was waiting for her speech. Of course there was a speech. You don't throw a farewell party for your final year without a few words. And Ashley wasn't going to pass up a mic. She took her place near the fireplace where the lighting was soft and perfect, cleared her throat, and launched into a heartfelt thank you about family and strength and learning to find joy even in pain. A few people teared up. I looked at my mom. She was nodding along like a proud stage manager. Then Ashley looked at me. "And to my sister," she said, voice trembling just the right amount. "Thank you for giving up so much for me. I know you don't like attention. But I couldn't have gotten through this without you." Everyone turned to look at me. I smiled. Nodded. Felt like I was going to throw up. Because they didn't know. Not yet. But they would. The moment she finished, the room filled with applause. Someone shouted, "We love you, Ashley." And the whole thing felt like a scene from a made-for-TV movie. I walked into the hallway. Reached into my pocket. Pulled out my phone. I'd already queued it up. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head more times than I'd care to admit. I found my cousin Ryan, one of the few people in the family who actually knows how Bluetooth works, and handed it to him. "Can you play this for everyone?" I said quietly. He blinked. "What is it?" "Just hit play." A second later, the music stopped. The crowd looked around, confused. Ashley turned toward the speaker. "Wait, what's?" And then the video started. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just enough to hush the room. Everyone went still. Ashley's posture shifted slightly. Her smile froze. From where I stood in the hallway, I couldn't see the screen. But I didn't need to. I was watching Ashley. Her lips parted. Then closed. Her eyes darted around the room. Like she was looking for the remote. Or the exit. Someone dropped a fork. There was a weird silence, thicker than anything I've ever felt. People weren't reacting yet, but they weren't breathing either. Ashley took one step back. Then another. My mom looked over at her, confused. "Sweetheart." Ashley turned to me. Her whole face had changed. Color gone. Smile vanished. Like a mask had slipped. "What did you do?" she whispered. I didn't answer. She walked toward me. "What did you just play?" So I said nothing. Her voice got louder. "That's fake. You know that, right? It's fake. You're obsessed." A few people turned to look at her. My dad frowned. My aunt muttered something under her breath. Ashley's hands were shaking now. "You edited it," she said. "That's illegal. That's defamation." "I didn't touch it," I said calmly. "Don't lie to me," she snapped. "You've always hated me. You're jealous. You've always been jealous." "You might want to stop talking," I said. That's when she lunged. right for the phone in Ryan's hand. He stepped back instinctively. Whoa, Ash, what? Turn it off, she shouted. Turn it off. But it was too late. Because people were already staring. Whispering. One woman gasped. My uncle looked like he'd swallowed a wasp. And the best part? The video was only halfway done. I watched her freeze. Watched the panic spread from her face to her fingers. Her whole body stiff like she could already feel it slipping away. The sympathy, the adoration, the lie. She didn't know where to look. Everyone was watching now. Except me. I was already headed for the door. And as I reached for the handle, I heard her voice again, soft, desperate. Please, she whispered. Don't do this. But I didn't answer. As I already had. I used to think the worst part was watching her suffer. Now I know it was watching myself disappear while she got standing ovations. Ashley didn't get sick all at once. It started slow, almost elegant. A weird stomach bug that wouldn't go away. Then joint pain. Then fainting spells. All vague enough to seem real but not specific enough to test for. At first I didn't question any of it. Why would I? She was my sister. I loved her. She started missing school then work. She texted me things like, just collapsed at the pharmacy. Don't worry, some angel helped me into an Uber. There was always drama, always a dash of flair. But again, she was always like that. Theatrics were kind of her thing. By the time she said the words terminal diagnosis, my parents were already in full panic mode. They sat me down like they were announcing a death. Ashley cried. My mom cried. My dad kept repeating, not fair, not her. I didn't cry. Not because I didn't feel anything, but because it didn't feel real. Like I was watching it happen to someone else. So I dropped everything. Because what kind of person doesn't? I deferred my scholarship. One I'd worked years for. Writing. A program that accepted 8 people worldwide. 8. I was one of them. I'd already imagined everything. The new city, the weird professors, the crappy studio apartment with a leaking sink. It was going to be mine. But Ashley needed me. Or so I thought. So I packed up my things and moved back into the house. I told myself it was temporary. Just a few months. One last season with my sister before it was too late. The first few weeks were normal. If normal means cooking, cleaning, and setting alarms to remind someone to take pills you've never heard of. But there were cracks. Like how she always seemed fine when the camera was off. How she'd limp for visitors but walk normally when she thought no one was looking. How she always had a story for why she forgot to bring back paperwork from the doctor's office. At first I ignored it. Then I started writing it down. Not as some grand conspiracy board, just small things. I had a notes app titled, Odd. Didn't take meds today. Said she felt better without them. Ate fast food in car, then told mom she couldn't digest solids. Told GoFundMe donors she's in stage 3. Told dad she's in stage 2. Tiny things. Maybe explainable. Maybe not. But they piled up. And the more they did, the more invisible I became. Ashley started doing interviews. First a podcast, then a local morning show. She wore headscarves and smiled bravely. My sister gave up everything to be here, she said once, eyes glistening. Everyone thought I was a saint. No one asked how I was sleeping. Or if I'd eaten. Or how it felt to watch someone pretend to die while you were losing pieces of your life, one small choice at a time. My parents were too busy coordinating care packages and hanging ribbons on the mailbox. I remember once asking mom if I could take a weekend off to see a friend. She looked at me like I'd said I wanted to abandon Ashley in the woods. Can't you see she's dying? She whispered. Right. Of course. How selfish of me. And maybe I would have kept going. Maybe I would have believed it all the way to the end. If not for the phone. It was just sitting there. On the counter. A second phone. White. Newer model. Not hers. Or so I thought. I picked it up by reflex. Thought maybe someone left it behind. But the lock screen was familiar. Same background. Same name. Ashley. That's when I felt it. That knot in your stomach when something clicks into place, and you really, really wish it hadn't. I opened the mail app. And just stared. It was logged in to Dr. Collins's account. The doctor she quoted in every update. The one who sent medical instructions. The one who'd supposedly said, we're doing everything we can. The sender? Dr. Collins. The recovery email? Ashley's. No aliases. No attempt to hide it. She'd been emailing herself medical updates from a fake account. and then showing them to us like they came from a real doctor. My hands were shaking. I opened the drafts folder. There were rehearsals, notes, phrases she wanted to use in future updates. One draft just said, "Try stage 4 next. People respond more when it sounds urgent." And still I didn't do anything. Not right away, because I couldn't believe it. Or maybe I just didn't want to. Instead, I started paying attention. I checked her phone logs. All the doctor calls came from one number, prepaid. I recognized the voice. It was hers. A different cadence, slightly nasal, but hers. She used to do voices all the time when we were younger. Theater kid. Party trick. At 12, she pretended to be our cousin's mom and got him out of school for a week. At 17, she convinced an entire camp she was British for 3 days. Apparently, that talent found a new use. I dug deeper. She'd set up donation pages, posted TikToks with hashtags like hashtag Terminal Warrior and hashtag Hope in the Darkness. She raised money from strangers. Thousands. And not just for treatment. There were receipts for skincare, a tablet, designer loungewear. She was living off her lie. And I was the unpaid nurse. But here's the thing. Even with all that evidence, seeing it, knowing it, I still didn't expose her. Not yet. I'd sit across from her while she fake coughed into her sleeve and asked me to fetch more chamomile tea. I'd smile when she said she didn't want to die in pain. I'd watch her close her eyes dramatically for photos and say things like, just trying to savor every moment. And I'd wonder, was I the only one seeing this? I was tired. So tired. And I kept thinking, maybe this wasn't cruelty. Maybe it was something else. Something broken. A cry for help. A sickness of a different kind. Then I found the folder on her laptop. Labeled simply, scripts. Not PDFs. Voice recordings. Audio files of her practicing her sick voice. Lines like, "Doctor says this might be my last Thanksgiving. I'm just scared I'll forget what it feels like to be normal. I don't want to die, but I think I'm ready." She even cried on cue. It was flawless. And suddenly I understood. This wasn't something I could reason with. This wasn't stress. Or trauma. Or one lie that got out of hand. This was a full-time performance. And I was done being an extra. So I made a copy. Everything. Emails. Audio. Screenshots. And I made a call. Not to her. Not to my parents. To someone else entirely. And just like that, the final act began. The room was silent. Not just quiet, silent. The kind of silence that only happens when a crowd goes from celebration to confusion to suspicion in under a minute. Ashley wasn't speaking anymore. Not even performing. And that, more than anything, scared me. I watched her from the hallway as the video played on Ryan's phone, mirrored to the TV like it was some kind of family movie night. Except instead of a holiday montage or slideshow of baby pictures, we were watching something very different. It started simple. A screen recording of the email inbox. Dr. Collins's name in the corner. All those updates she'd been showing us. The ones she read aloud in tears. The ones we forwarded to friends and posted on Facebook with captions like, "Please keep Ashley in your thoughts." And then it cut to a close-up of the phone. Ashley's voice, pretending to be Dr. Collins, saying things like, "Her prognosis isn't good, but she's strong. She's a fighter." People started shifting in their seats. My dad sat up straighter. My mom blinked twice, then covered her mouth. Ashley's husband stood frozen, holding the edge of the table like it might disappear. I don't know what they were expecting. But it wasn't this. Then came the audio recordings. Clips of Ashley practicing. Rehearsing. Switching from her regular voice to her sick voice and then into her doctor voice. Nasally, clinical, oddly British at times. One file had her saying, "Try stage 4 next. People respond better when it's urgent." The last clip? Her laughing. "My fans are so sweet," she giggled. "Someone just sent me a hand-knitted blanket. For the hospital bed I don't even have." Someone gasped. Ashley sprang to her feet. "Turn it off," she shrieked. "It's fake. That's not me." My uncle, still holding the remote, stared at her like he didn't know who she was. "Ashley," my mom started. "No," she snapped. "She edited it. Maren edited it. She's been out to get me for years. She's obsessed with ruining me." All eyes turned to me. I didn't flinch. "Is that true?" Dad asked, voice quiet. No, I said simply. But if you want, I can show you the files myself. They're time-stamped. And I've already sent copies to the police. The color drained from my mother's face. You called the police? She whispered like I'd set the house on fire. Ashley lunged toward me. You're a monster. My cousin stepped in. Ashley, don't. She shoved him hard. It was only then that my mom finally said it. Ashley, sit down. It was the first time she'd raised her voice at her in, I don't know, maybe ever. Ashley looked stunned, like someone had slapped her. The front door opened, and in walked a man holding a camera. The local journalist I'd called 3 weeks ago. The one who'd interviewed Ashley for that feel-good cancer segment last year. He stepped inside slowly, scanning the room. Behind him a second camera. Lights. And outside, a van marked with the news station logo. My mom turned to me horrified. What did you do? She whispered. I looked at Ashley. I told the truth. To a reporter? She screamed. You ruined my life. I tilted my head. You mean the life built on charity scams and fake diagnoses? Her husband finally spoke. Wait, that money people donated. Was that all fake? Ashley's mouth opened. No words came out. He looked like he'd been punched. You said it was for treatment, he said quietly. Ashley didn't respond. Just cried. But it wasn't the kind of cry you see in movies. It was wild. Ugly. Furious. Less grief, more panic. She kept yelling things. You don't understand. It was real to me. I needed it. Until someone finally pulled her back. I'm not the villain, she shouted. She is. She gave up her scholarship because she's a coward, not because of me. And somehow that's what broke me. Because she said it like it meant nothing. Like it hadn't gutted me. Like it wasn't the dream I'd sacrificed to care for her while she sat in bed live streaming lies. My dad sat down. Hard. Like his knees gave out. The journalist waited at the edge of the room. We don't have to film inside, he said gently. But we'd like a statement. My mom waved him away. She looked 10 years older than she had an hour ago. Ashley stormed toward the stairs. I'm calling my lawyer, she said. I'll see all of you. You don't have a lawyer, I said. You have a burner phone and a spreadsheet of symptoms you Googled. My aunt leaned in to whisper something to my mom. Ashley stopped halfway up the stairs, turned around and pointed at me. You're going to regret this. I stared at her. No, I said. I regret not doing it sooner. She disappeared upstairs. Slammed the door. The whole house was quiet again. Except for the creak of someone stepping forward. It was my mom. She looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in years. Why didn't you tell us? I tried, I said. And I had. In small ways. But no one had wanted to hear it. She didn't respond. Just turned away and walked into the kitchen. Everyone else filtered out slowly. My cousin gave me a weird half-hug. Someone murmured something like, sorry you had to do that. And then just before I reached the front door I heard my dad call my name. I turned. He looked tired. Like all the wind had gone out of him. She'll have to pay that money back, he said. It's fraud. People are pressing charges. I nodded. I know. She'll go to jail. I didn't say anything. He hesitated. Was this revenge? I thought about that. No, I said. It was survival. Then I stepped out into the sunlight. And closed the door behind me. For the first 3 days after the video played, no one said a word to me. Not a single call. Not a single message. Not even a passive-aggressive thumbs down on Facebook. Just silence. You'd think they'd be more talkative after the house had practically turned into a live crime doc. But I guess it's hard to know what to say when your golden child just got exposed as a walking medical hoax and you're the parent who helped her raise the money. Mom went into crisis management mode. Obviously. She called the donors, tried to clarify things. Told them Ashley had been under emotional stress, had been misled by bad advice, that it was all a misunderstanding. The usual PR nonsense you try when your daughter fakes a terminal illness on local TV. But it didn't work. The news segment aired 2 days later. Footage of Ashley rehearsing her sick voice, switching accents, logging into Dr. Collins's email. The journalist did a side-by-side breakdown. Her followers dropped overnight. People started asking for refunds. Charities that had spotlighted her issued statements. A few even said they were considering legal action. The police? They were involved now. Turns out, when you raise thousands in donations and spend it on concert tickets and skincare while pretending to die, it's not just embarrassing. Fraud. Ashley went into hiding. I mean that literally. She left the house and went to stay with a friend somewhere, away from all the negativity. Apparently, negativity now includes facing consequences for felonies. Her husband filed for separation the same week. He called me once. Said he was sorry. Said he'd believed her too. Said he felt like he'd been living with a stranger. I believed him. You can fake a lot of things, but not that kind of heartbreak. As for my parents, they were furious. But not at Ashley. At me. You didn't have to make it public, Mom said over the phone. We could have handled this quietly. She could have gone to jail, Dad said. She's still your sister. And I'm still your daughter, I said. They didn't have much to say after that. Apparently, loving Ashley meant protecting her. Loving me meant silence. But I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat in my apartment, stared at the screen, and let the emptiness wash over me. I used to dream of this moment. Not the scandal, not the cameras, but the truth. I used to imagine my family apologizing, admitting they'd been wrong, telling me I mattered too. That all the nights I stayed up spoon-feeding Soup and catching her faked fainting spells hadn't been for nothing. Instead, I got a voicemail from my mother that started with, "We're very disappointed in how you handled things." So I did what I had to do. I went to therapy. Because I wasn't okay. And pretending to be okay had almost killed me more than her imaginary disease ever could. It turns out there's a name for what Ashley did. Munchausen syndrome. It's real. It's rare. It's terrifying. She wasn't just lying to hurt people. She was addicted to the performance of pain. She needed the attention. Needed the sympathy. Needed to be seen. Me. I was just the closest thing she could use to hold up the illusion. My therapist asked me once, "Why do you think you stayed so long? Why didn't you walk away when the first lie fell apart?" Took me 3 sessions to say it out loud. Because I wanted it to be real, I said. Because if it was real, then all the sacrifices meant something. Then giving up my dream wasn't a waste. Then the pain had a purpose. But it wasn't. And I had to let that go. The story made national news for about 6 minutes. The fallout, however, lasted longer. Ashley eventually agreed to a plea deal. No jail time, but she had to pay restitution, attend mandatory therapy, and do community service. She scrubbed her socials, deleted the donation pages, and vanished from the internet for a while. We haven't spoken since. My parents did try to reach out again. Sort of. My mom sent a text on my birthday that said, "Hope you're well. We think of you." I didn't reply. Because the truth is, I had finally stopped thinking about them. I accepted the scholarship. The same one I'd deferred. Turns out they kept a spot open for me. I'm back to writing again. Not about Ashley. Not about illness. About characters who lie, sure, but also about ones who heal. Who get free. Last week, I spoke on a panel about truth-telling and emotional abuse. A young woman came up afterward and said, "I didn't know what was happening to me until I heard your story. And I felt something shift in me. Not pride. Not satisfaction. Something quieter. Peace. I didn't need Ashley to suffer. I didn't need her to apologize. I didn't need my parents to suddenly become the people I always hoped they'd be. I just needed to stop bleeding for people who never offered me a bandage. So no, I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. Done living in someone else's performance. Done swallowing my own needs to make someone else the center of the stage. Done being the supporting character in a drama I never agreed to join. Ashley's story is over. It's just getting started. Did I go too far making it public? Or was it the only way to finally be heard? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to subscribe.